Hello everyone, this is Andrew, and this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of video than what I normally make, and that is because I recently went to the Ontario Science Centre, and they currently have an exhibit put on called Game 2.0, where they've collected a whole bunch of video game stuff throughout the generations, so a whole bunch of retro stuff, a whole bunch of new stuff, and they've put it on display, and they have, of course, write-ups on it, so I thought it would be fun to go there and make a video while I was there. So yeah, Game On 2.0, and we're going to be seeing a lot of Sonic and Samus. I don't know why those two characters were used so much. Based on the fact that Sonic was in Wreck-It Ralph, I'm guessing that he's probably pretty cheap to use. But before we get to the exhibit, we have to walk by the gigantic ruler with rocks and whatever the heck this room is supposed to be. But about 20 minutes later, you finally arrive at the entrance of the exhibit. And of course, the first thing you see after you walk in there is Pong. Now, they didn't really want, you could play the Pong on the screen here, but there were a few places near the beginning where it's like, please stay off the stage. They didn't want you touching, the ancient Pong machine, which I don't blame them. There are a lot of things set up that you can try though, but, some of the stuff is getting really destroyed. So that Pong machine, I don't blame them for, not wanting all the kids to, kind of destroy it. Over here, we also have some really old machines. Not too sure what is up with some of these things. There are actually a lot of really interesting things here. You might think they put on a video game exhibit, there's going to be lots of Xbox and PlayStation and basic Nintendo stuff, but there are a lot of really cool things to see actually. And they even had gigantic Donkey Kong to play up there, which was pretty neat. And yeah, you can see that the controls were kind of here, although it's kind of hard to play when you're recording, and it's actually Crazy Kong. Now, I thought that was really bizarre. Apparently Crazy Kong was a later release of it, but I don't think it was Nintendo. It was really weird. I ended up reading up about it. I'd never even heard of Crazy Kong before, but I like how one of the first things it said on the Wikipedia page was most people think it's a bootleg of Donkey Kong, but apparently it's not. Also, that was a Japanese Hello Kitty Dreamcast, although it was frozen, which is pretty great. Also, they have really neat display cases built into the walls. Like right there, we had the Atari 400 computer. Here we have boards from inside of things, and you even have write-ups on a whole bunch of great people who worked in the video game industry, which is really neat. And I don't know how well some of these things are going to show up. Hopefully, if you pause the video, you might be able to get a read on some of these things. And it should be noted that the exhibit is there until September 2nd. So, if there's not too much time left, but you can still run over there if you want. I'm hoping to do it justice in the video, but it's definitely a lot of fun to go there, because as you're going to see, they have so much stuff set up for you to go and try, all the way from the old stuff, all the way up to, the new stuff with the Kinect, which we'll see at some point. So let's just move on. Of course, we have the Atari. We have some combat here. And yeah, there's really nice displays. They made it so that you can't really touch the consoles. They're behind glass, but you can still see a whole bunch of things. Hopefully the TVs are showing up okay. That one was a bit flickery. Here we have the ZX Spectrum computer. There are actually a few things here that I've never really seen before. But like I said, there's a lot of foreign stuff too. We're going to see a lot of Japanese things that, even I don't really have too much experience with. There you have the Commodore 64, of course, with the floppy disk drive. Over here we have Mario Bros. And surprisingly, it's actually on a Famicom. I love this display right here. I thought that this was really cool that they actually set all of this up. It is really neat. I have to admit, before I went there, I was just expecting it to be an NES and a Super NES, but they have some really cool stuff. Here's Castlevania, but it's actually on the MSX, which is really neat. Something I don't have that I've always really wanted. There's some really cool games on the MSX computer. And yeah, they were playing Castlevania on that, and the controller really annoyed me because what would normally be the B button was the jump button. As you can see on the controller there, when you press what would normally be B on an NES controller, you jumped instead of attack, so I kind of got confused, but I'm playing with one hand. What the heck do you expect me to do? This became a massive problem while making this video. I'm like, there's so many things I want to play, but I want to make a video of it as well. But yeah, you have Castlevania, you have me failing at it really bad right here because I can't play with one hand. And that was enough of that. Moving on, we have the Amiga, and also I realized that there were some things I was completely missing behind me, because there was stuff set up everywhere. They actually did a really good job. Of course, you have to have a Nintendo 64 set up with some Mario Kart 64 and a Sega Master System. I was lucky to get here pretty early in the morning. It wasn't even, I think it was about 10:30. So it wasn't very busy, although of course later on in the day there were massive lineups. Here we have the Atari Jaguar, which either isn't hooked up because no one wants to play it, or it's broken. Both very high possibilities, but we have a write-up about Atari here. Tells about how, they kind of imploded on themselves. And we have a whole bunch of other stuff back here, so we'll kind of continue on where we left off after Castlevania and the Amiga. Whole bunch of neat stuff in that kind of display case there. Over here, we have the PC Engine and the PC Engine CD attachment, which is actually really cool. It's interesting they didn't just, hook up a TurboGrafx. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It is really neat to see some of the foreign things that they have actually set up here, and many of which I don't even own or haven't even seen before. And of course, I mean, you have to have the original PlayStation, with Japanese games in there as well. The emphasis they put on the Japanese stuff I thought was really outstanding. And here we have a Game Boy hooked up, with the Game Boy player, and of course Tetris, a very big Game Boy classic hooked up to the TV. And then I realized, oh, there's stuff above this stuff that you actually can't play. And most of it is, like Japanese stuff. So again, I'm like, well, what the heck is half of this stuff? That is the Laserdisc player, where it plays Laserdisc, but you can get attachments to play things like Sega Genesis and TurboGrafx, which was really cool. Over here, a whole bunch of stuff. Of course, you have to have the Neo Geo. They did have some Neo Geo games set up, actually, but that one was just in that case for whatever reason. Of course, you have to have the ColecoVision there, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Wanted to get a zoom in on the name there, but it unfortunately didn't turn out too well. Someone offered to trade me a game for that one time, but I didn't have anything they wanted. And here we have the TV Game 15, one of the very first kind of video games developed by Nintendo, which is actually kind of interesting. I think the TV Game 6 was the first one, but that one, the difference was that the TV Game 6 didn't have controllers with cords. They were actually built into the thing. I thought this was really neat. The Super Game Boy controller is actually something I'd never seen before. Apparently it was released in Japan, and it was a controller specifically made for playing games on your Super Game Boy, which is pretty neat. Here we have the Korean cabinet with the Super Comboy, and kind of showing what the console was like there. Unfortunately, it wasn't hooked up. And then in here, I believe this is the Chinese cabinet. We have the Chinese Atari and, some Chinese video games, which are probably not official in the slightest. And it's hard to get a view on things without getting my shadow in the way, because of the way that the light was set up. And so over here, that one wasn't on. And there's some Animal Crossing. And you've got to make friends. Here we have the Sega Genesis. And here we have, I believe, the Neo Geo. Yes. Neo Geo hooked up there with some crazy controllers, which are pretty neat. Here we got an Xbox 360, although I'm not entirely sure what game was on that. Here we have the Wii U, which is pretty neat. I mean, to have like a Wii U there as well. And of course, the original Legend of Zelda. Wouldn't be a complete exhibition without that. And Monkey Island, I like when I look down and it's like, oh, it's just a mouse. Thought that was kind of funny. But you can play good games with just a mouse. We have, of course, Ocarina of Time. And something by Square Enix. What could it possibly be? On the PlayStation 2. And I didn't hang around long enough to find out which game it was. But then, of course, you have Atari 2600. And I zoomed in on something there. You've got the good old Atari mouse. And you've got Pikmin. And I'm like, oh, for the GameCube. No, it's actually the Wii version. I've never actually played Pikmin on the Wii. I've just played it on the GameCube. I'm not entirely sure if people would consider the Wii version better or not. But heading over here, we have the indie section, which I thought was really neat. And the second I saw this, I'm like, I know which game that is. That's like Pure Solar. I'm probably butchering the name, but it was an independently made Sega Genesis / Master System, not Master System, Mega Drive game, sorry, that came out not too long ago, and it was for the Genesis and the Sega CD. If you had the Sega CD attachment, you could put the CD in and it would like make the music better. That was really neat, and you could buy that online. And it just came out, I think, about a year ago. And I mean, there were collector's editions for when it first came out. It came with maps and books and a whole bunch of really cool stuff. So they had that set up there. I thought that was really neat. And a slow year. I had not even heard of this one. Apparently, it's 4 Atari games. One for each season of the year, which was kind of neat. This one was broken, I mean, it's pretty great when things are broken. I mean, this exhibition has been open since, I think, March. So I mean, things have had a lot of chance to get abused, you know, a lot of opportunity to be abused. Fortunately, I didn't show up. That is Warning Forever, which is an absolutely awesome arcade kind of shoot 'em up, and the name comes from the fact that it's only boss battles. So, you know, like when the warning appears up on the screen before a boss battle, so you just kind of get that forever as you fight the bosses. Here we have Vib Ribbon, and I've never played that, but my good friend Teal Game Master did, so that's how I kind of know about that. Here we have the fighting games section, with a whole bunch of different fighters for a whole bunch of different consoles. Some Japanese Sega Dreamcast arcade stick action going on there. Here we, of course, have Street Fighter. And some more Street Fighter. On the Neo Geo CD. And here we have Half-Life 2 Episode 1. I really wanted to play some Half-Life 2 Episode 1, so I'm like, let's play Half-Life Episode 2. It's Half-Life 2 Episode 1 with one hand. This cannot go wrong in the slightest. So then, you know, I went to New Game, and I tried to select the chapter. Actually, no, first you have to select your crazy thing there. And then, like, let's check the storage device. And then I go all the way over to, you know, chapter, whatever the heck I go to, chapter 4. And I'm like, okay, let's play this. And then it takes like 17 years to load. So I'm like, oh, I'll come back and play it later. I have it on the PC anyway. Why do I need to play it here? And there, of course, we have some Halo and some Doom, which is quite awesome. And that guy completely fell into the hole there, but that was the demo anyway. I like the keyboard that they have set up. That is not a Doom playing keyboard. And we have that. That was exciting. And of course, yes, we get to some more shoot 'em ups, which is really cool. I spent a lot of time playing these. Because who doesn't love shoot 'em ups? I think it was this one right here I played quite a lot of later on in the day. Because no one was playing shoot 'em ups. Like, these games are too difficult for me, so I'm like, okay, I'll just kind of stand here for a couple hours and play them. Here we have the really exciting Neo Geo CD music player, where you can, like, you know, the Neo Geo CD was interesting because you could listen to the soundtrack of the game, like, you know, from a menu at the beginning. So I guess that game wasn't really set up properly, or someone just went into that menu, listened to that. And also, of course, you have some more shoot 'em ups there. And here we have, I think this was one of the Sonic racing games. And we have Super Mario Kart and RC Pro-Am for the NES. And we have some Atari 2600 stuff going on here with, you know, those crazy knob controllers. But yeah, that was kind of the first room of the convention. Though then I realized, oh yeah, I forgot to, you know, show the GameCube back there, and of course back to the Dreamcast, which I don't think I saw that working all day. They just kind of left it there, frozen forever. And of course, over here we have a PlayStation 2, some really funky controllers. And on the back of this thing here, we had an original Xbox. I mean, it wouldn't be complete without the Xbox One, or I mean, the original Xbox. Here we have some Prince of Persia, and 46 minutes remaining. No one is even playing that. Someone really should have pressed the start button. And, of course, Mario 64. There were a lot of really good games set up, so, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. If you do, like, you can't just really experience the whole thing in the video. It's so much fun to come down and play everything. Like, right there was Sonic Generations, which is an absolutely awesome Sonic game. If you, you've been kind of, not happy with the series as of late, I hope that everyone tried out Generations for either the 360 or the PS3, because it was a really fun game. Super Monkey Ball is absolutely awesome. People will know I really like Super Monkey Ball too. And yeah, here is the kind of second half of the exhibit, where we had the indie games over there, and me like waving in front of the camera for fun. And yeah, this is kind of the section where it shows a whole bunch of really neat kind of, art and promotional items and things like that. And here we have Parappa the Rapper. And you got a whole massive write-up about marketing in video games. This is probably the least read sign in the entire place. Yeah, some pretty cool games over here. And of course, concept art. We will be seeing a bit more concept art in this area and in later areas. There were some pretty cool things. We have Uncharted. There was a lot of Naughty Dog stuff in this area too. We'll be seeing Jak in a minute. We got the game set up there. And this case right here, this was an awesome case. There were so many cool things in here. I want that Jak II figure so bad. And unfortunately, they put the light in the worst possible spot. So looking at the case kind of put this massive reflection in his face. But there you go. I kind of put my hand in front of it. So that is absolutely awesome. I mean, I was like planning the heist the whole time. Coming to a theater near you soon, Andrew 7. It's going to be the greatest heist movie ever. But I want this stuff. There is just so much cool stuff in this kind of bubble here. I mean, art and just so many neat things. I'm hoping that, you know, this kind of 360 around the case is turning out well. I tried my best to not, you know, shake the camera around too much. Hopefully people are enjoying this. And of course, Uncharted 2, the Uncharted series, another awesome Naughty Dog series. And you have a whole bunch of art for it on the wall over there, which was really neat. Sometimes I kind of have to dip the camera around if people want to get by, and I'm like, I don't want you in my video. Then we have Jak and Daxter, the original on the PS2, so it's not even the HD kind of re-release. And we have some really nice art there. I want that on my wall. And just a whole bunch of other crazy concept art, which is really, really nice. And of course we have some Tomb Raider. And I'm sure people saw the gigantic kind of Lara Croft you know, stand up right here, which is really, really neat. And we have some more art here. And then we have some computer games. You know, it wouldn't be complete without, you know, kind of talking about the computer games as well. Not just console games. Computer games are pretty awesome. This computer over here is kind of funny. People would just quit the game and then use it to, like, check their Facebook. Nobody wanted to play World of Warcraft. I'm not entirely sure how that worked. I didn't really spend any time on this, but I don't know if there's, like, an account they have set up for like, everyone to use. Someone could probably just get into that and, you know, change the password or something. Here we have that. And if we go around this corner, we have, oh dear, your Wii remote has, like, exploded and we cannot play anymore. There was actually not too much Wii stuff, surprisingly. And here, we have a couple more games. And some more. This was like, you could listen to the music. It was really kind of bizarre, but it was interesting too. And there's kind of where we just came from. Then we have a little section off to the side here. And this had a lot of kind of music games. It wasn't all music and arcade games, but I mean, you had like Dance Dance Revolution, and you know, like Band Hero, and things like that. And you also had this game right here. I believe this was Densha de Go, which was, you know, kind of a Japanese train simulator game, which is kind of interesting. And kind of really funky controller there too. I wanted to get a good shot of that. But yeah, that was interesting. And here, it's not Dance Dance Revolution. I don't know entirely what this one was called. I think the sign was kind of out up there. Over here, we have, you know, various music games, and we have a Wii Sports Resort, and we have the PlayStation Move there. And kind of had to go around some there. And you had some like racing arcade games and stuff, which was pretty neat. A lot of things here, like even the arcade games were free to play, so it's not like, you know, you were using all of your quarters. And also, you got into this exhibition just by buying a normal ticket to the Science Center. So I mean, I think it was like $20. So at least you didn't have to pay extra to get into the you know, the video game exhibit, which is definitely the main thing I came for. So if it's not too late by the time you're watching this video and, you know, you're in the Ontario area, I mean, Ontario's a pretty massive place, but definitely check it out if you get the chance. Here we have some Super Mario Brothers, and I was like, okay, I need to play something. I can't just video all day, so I'm like, let's play this with kind of one massive hand. So I did pretty well for a second. I'm like, yeah, let's go Toad. It's kind of, you know, so far so good. And I'm like, maybe I should get some video of me, you know, playing with one hand. And then I looked down, I moved the camera down, and I'm like, wait a second, who's looking at the screen? And then I looked back up and I was dead. So that was some pretty good logic there.